I'll tell you a secret about yourself that's going to make you a bit uncomfortable. You think your choices are yours, that when you decide something freely, it came from some special place inside you, right? Well, maybe not. Let me show you something. If I ask you to think of a number from 1 to 10 right now, you'll probably choose 7. It's not magic. It's not guessing. It's pure physics. 9 out of 10 people make exactly the same free choice you do, and that should make us think about what the hell is going on inside our skull. Your brain isn't what you think it is. It doesn't generate randomness. It follows patterns of least energy resistance, like water flowing down a mountain, and the number 7 is sitting right at the bottom of the deepest valley in your neural landscape. But why? What's so special about this number? In this video, I'm going to show you how particle physics, the asymmetry of the universe, cultural feedback loops, and the illusion of free will come together to make you always choose the same number. Get ready, because after this, you'll never look at your own decisions the same way again. You know what's most interesting about all this? People really think they're being random. They swear they chose out of nowhere, that it was the first thing that came to mind. But look, if it were really random, each number from 1 to 10 should appear roughly 10% of the time, right? After all, there are 10 equal possibilities. But that's not what happens. The 7 appears 7 times more than it should if the choice were truly random. I like to show this with real data. I've done polls in previous videos, asked in the comments, collected live responses at presentations. The numbers don't lie. The 7 always dominates. Always. The 3 comes in a distant second. The 5 appears a bit. And numbers like 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10, these are practically forgotten. People simply don't choose these numbers when asked to think of something random. This isn't a matter of opinion or subjective interpretation. It's a measurable, reproducible, statistically significant phenomenon. Anyone who does this test with a sufficiently large sample will find the same pattern. It doesn't matter if you're in Brazil, the United States, Japan, or Norway, the 7 wins. It always wins. But why? What's so special about the number 7 that makes our brain gravitate toward it when we try to be random? Why don't we choose 4 with the same frequency? Or 9? What's happening inside our head in that moment of free choice? Because look, this raises a much deeper question than it seems at first glance. If you really had total free will in the choice, if your brain were capable of generating pure randomness, all numbers should have equal chances, but they don't. Your brain is following a pattern, a very specific pattern, and most people don't even realize they're doing this. They genuinely believe they made a free, spontaneous choice, completely their own. Except physics teaches us something fundamental. Physical systems don't do things out of nowhere. Everything has a cause. Everything follows rules, even when it seems chaotic or random. And your brain, my friend, is a physical system. It's made of neurons, synapses, molecules, atoms. All of this obeys the laws of physics. So when you choose the number 7, that choice doesn't come from a mystical void. It comes from very real physical processes happening in your nervous system at that exact moment. The truth is, your brain isn't a random number generator. It's an extremely sophisticated pattern recognition machine that evolved over millions of years to make quick and efficient decisions. And when you ask it to do something random, it doesn't really know what to do with that. Because pure randomness isn't something brains do naturally. So what does it do? It follows the path of least resistance, the path that requires less energy, less cognitive conflict, less neural effort. And that path, it happens, leads straight to the number 7 in the vast majority of cases. So let's think about this more deeply. What's really happening inside your skull in that moment when you choose a number? You need to understand something fundamental. Your brain isn't magic. It's a piece of matter, approximately 1.4 kilograms of neural tissue composed of about 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others through synapses. All of this working with electrical and chemical signals, obeying the same laws of physics that govern a falling rock or a planet orbiting a star. Brains didn't evolve to generate randomness. They evolved to do exactly the opposite. Find patterns, create order, make quick decisions based on past experiences. Your ancestor who could recognize patterns had a better chance of surviving than the one who kept trying to be random and unpredictable. Natural selection favored brains that are pattern machines, not chaos generators. Neurons consume energy. A lot of energy. Your brain represents only 2% of your body weight, but consumes about 20% of all the energy you use. So it evolved to be efficient. It's not going to waste energy activating complex circuits if there's a simpler path available. It's like water flowing down a mountain. It goes through the route of least gravitational resistance. Your thoughts do the same thing, just with neural resistance. So what happens? Your brain quickly discards certain options. The number 1, too extreme. The 10, same thing. These numbers are at the edges of the spectrum, and your brain intuitively feels that choosing an edge doesn't seem random. It seems deliberate. It has already eliminated these options before you even consciously notice. And the 5, it's the central point between 1 and 10. Precisely because of this, it also seems too obvious. It's too symmetrical, too predictable in its own centrality. It generates cognitive conflict because at the same time, it seems like a safe choice. It seems too obvious to be truly random. Even numbers in general suffer from this problem. They seem too orderly, too arranged. Your brain associates even numbers with structure, with symmetry, with something artificially constructed. Even numbers carry this feeling of intentional organization. So your brain avoids these numbers because they don't seem chaotic enough. Odd numbers have a different quality. They seem more asymmetrical, more irregular, more natural, less constructed, more spontaneous. Your brain gravitates toward odd numbers. But not all odd numbers are equal. The 1 and 9 are extremes. The 5 is too central. The 3 is too close to the beginning. What's left? The 7. It's comfortably positioned in the upper part of the spectrum, but not at the extreme. It's odd, so it seems less artificial. It's not the middle, so it doesn't seem obvious. It sits in that perfect zone of least cognitive conflict. Your brain does all of this in fractions of a second without you consciously noticing. The final result reaches your consciousness as, I'll choose 7, and you genuinely believe it was a free choice. But it was the deterministic result of a physical system following its own rules of energy efficiency. The illusion of randomness is just that, an illusion. But this raises another question. Why specifically 7? What's so special about this number that puts it in this privileged position? Because it's not just about avoiding extremes and even numbers. There's something deeper happening here, something that goes beyond the basic mechanics of the individual brain. You know what's fascinating? This preference of the brain for odd numbers isn't just a psychological matter. It reflects something much deeper about how nature itself works. Think with me. Why do odd numbers seem more natural or random than even numbers? There's a physical reason for this, and it's rooted in the fundamental asymmetry of the universe. Nature loves asymmetry. Look, the laws of physics have a preference for asymmetric processes. One of the most beautiful examples of this is CP violation in particle physics. Basically, certain subatomic interactions don't behave the same way if you reverse charge and parity. The universe has a directional preference built into it. It's not symmetric. It's not perfectly mirrored. It's crooked on purpose. Another example, molecular chirality. Biological molecules like amino acids and sugars exist in left-handed and right-handed versions, like your hands, but life on Earth uses almost exclusively left-handed amino acids. Why? Nobody knows for sure, but the fact is, biology chose a side. Asymmetry again. Your brain evolved immersed in this asymmetric reality, so it makes sense that it recognizes odd patterns as more natural. Even numbers carry perfect symmetry. You can divide them exactly in half. They're balanced, artificial in their perfection. Odd numbers don't. They always leave a remainder, a leftover, an inevitable asymmetry. And this resonates with how the universe actually works. But 7 has something even more special. It's prime. You can only divide it by 1 and itself, nothing else. It's mathematically irreducible. And look how interesting. Among the numbers from 1 to 10, the primes are 2, 3, 5, and 7. The 2 is even, so we already discard it. The 3 is too small, too close to the beginning. The 5 is the middle. That leaves 7. It's the only odd prime in the middle of the spectrum that doesn't suffer from any of the problems of the others. Primes have a special quality. They're the fundamental building blocks of numbers. Every number can be broken down into prime factors. They are, in a way, the atoms of mathematics. And your brain, this pattern recognition machine, captures this intuitively. Primes seem more pure, more fundamental, less constructed. The 7 also appears in strange places in mathematics. It's the 4th prime number. It's the only single-digit number that you can't multiply or divide easily within a 10x10 multiplication table and get another clean single-digit number. Try it. 7 times 2 are 14, 7 times 3 are 21, 7 come for 28. Everything goes beyond 10. It escapes. It doesn't fit perfectly in decimal systems, and maybe that's exactly what makes it attractive to the brain trying to simulate randomness. It's mathematically rebellious. But there's another layer to this story. Because it's not just abstract mathematics and fundamental physics that shape our preference for 7. There's also a whole web of cultural and historical experiences that reinforce this pattern in our brain. And this web is much denser than you imagine. Now comes the part that really ties all this together, because your brain doesn't exist in a vacuum. It was shaped by a lifetime of exposure to cultural patterns. And guess which number appears obsessively in practically all human cultures? Think about how many times you've heard about 7 something, 7 days of the week, the 7 wonders of the world, 7 musical notes in the diatonic scale, 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 continents, 7 seas, Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, the 7 deadly sins, the 7 virtues, 7 lives of a cat, pH 7 is neutral, 7 is lucky in Las Vegas, 7th heaven, every 7 years the body's cells completely renew themselves. This isn't even true, but people believe and repeat it. Look at the density of this cultural presence. The 7 is everywhere, and every time you encounter this number, your brain is creating neural connections, strengthening synaptic pathways associated with it. This isn't mysticism, it's basic neuroscience. Neurons that fire together, wire together. The more you're exposed to something, the easier it becomes for your brain to access that information. This creates what we call in complex systems physics a positive feedback loop. The 7 appears a lot in culture because people choose 7 a lot. And people choose 7 a lot because it appears a lot in culture. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. Each generation inherits this bias from the previous generation, adds its own layers of reinforcement, and passes it forward in a statistical snowball that only grows. Emergent patterns in complex systems work like this. You start with a small random fluctuation. Maybe way back thousands of years ago, someone chose 7 for something for some arbitrary reason, but then other people copied and more people copied, and eventually you have a cultural convention. And that convention feeds itself because our brains are fundamentally statistical learning machines. They notice frequencies, they internalize patterns. So every time you think, I'll choose a random number and choose 7, you're not really making a free and independent choice. You're executing a program that was installed in your brain by thousands of years of cultural conditioning. Your nervous system was trained through repeated exposure to associate 7 with a certain special quality. And this association is so deeply embedded that you don't even consciously notice it. The physics of adaptive systems teaches us that patterns that are frequently reinforced become increasingly stable. It's like a valley in an energy landscape. The more something rolls through that valley, the deeper it gets, and the more likely future things will also roll through there. The 7 has carved a deep valley in humanity's collective cognitive space, and your individual brain is simply following the flow of this pre-molded landscape. You think you're being creative, original, random, but you're just surfing on a wave of historical probability that was built over generations. And this leads us to a somewhat disturbing revelation about something we value a lot. The feeling that our choices are really ours. So we arrive at the central question of all this, the one that really messes with us. Did you really choose 7, or did 7 choose you? Look, this isn't an empty philosophical question. It's a very concrete physical question about how deterministic systems work. Because when you think you're being random, when you feel that sensation of free choice, what's really happening is that your brain is following the trajectory of least energy allowed by your current neural configuration. Think of a marble at the top of a landscape full of valleys and mountains. You release the ball, it's going to roll. Where to? To the nearest valley, following gravity. The ball doesn't choose where to go. It simply responds to the forces acting on it and the topography of the terrain. Your brain works in a similar way. The difference is that the landscape isn't physical. It's a landscape of neural energy resistance shaped by your genetics, your history, your culture, your experiences. So that moment when you decide to choose 7 isn't really a decision in the sense we like to think. It's the inevitable result of billions of neurons following the laws of physics and chemistry, processing information along pathways that were sculpted throughout your life. The 7 emerges as the lowest cost energy solution for the task you asked your brain to do, simulate randomness. And look how interesting. This doesn't mean you're less free. It just means that freedom might not be what we thought it was. You're not a mystical agent hovering above the laws of nature, making choices that sprout from nowhere. You are an incredibly complex and beautiful pattern of matter and energy, operating within the same rules that govern galaxies and quarks. Richard Feynman had a beautiful way of thinking about this. He would say that you don't lose anything by discovering that you're predictable in certain situations. You gain something, the understanding that you're part of a coherent, consistent, comprehensible universe. You're not random, you're a pattern. And patterns are beautiful. Patterns are what allow science to exist, knowledge to be possible, for us to understand each other and the world around us. The illusion of mathematical free will is thinking that your mind is separate from physics, floating in some special realm where normal rules don't apply. But the truth is more interesting than the illusion. The truth is that you're an extraordinarily sophisticated biological machine, capable of consciousness, creativity, love, curiosity, all of this emerging from physical processes. It's not less wonderful for being physical, it's more wonderful because it's real. So yes, you probably chose 7. And no, it wasn't really a free choice in the traditional sense. It was the result of a complex system doing exactly what complex systems do, finding states of lowest energy while operating within their constraints. And understanding this doesn't diminish you. It connects you with something greater, with the fundamental physics of the universe, with the history of human culture, with the deep patterns that govern both subatomic particles and conscious thoughts. You are a piece of the universe trying to understand itself. And discovering that even your random choices follow patterns is just another step in this journey of cosmic self-knowledge. Look, if this messed with your head, you need to keep exploring with me. There's so much more about how physics explains things you think are just yours, just human, just mysterious. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because in the next videos I'm going to show you that almost everything you think is free will is actually physics in disguise. And trust me, this is much more fascinating than the illusion.